Hey everybody, my name is Adam Smith, and I wanted to start talking about art on my channel a little bit more. Part of this came as a request for people in my art classes if I would share kind of additional thoughts and things on kind of how I approach my work and ways that they can improve in between classes so that as the courses go through, they're kind of getting more and more out of it and seeing more improvement. So as reluctant as I have been to get these going, I think that it's about time. So, okay, I want to talk about just a few things today. The big topic of the day is on creativity. I've heard a lot of people talk about how sometimes they struggle with coming up with ideas, or they don't see themselves as particularly creative. And they ask me, they see my ideas and like, how do you come up with all of these things? And the reality is that for my subject matter, it's really not that difficult. I just go places and open my eyes and voila, right? It's just kind of everywhere all of the time. And so I don't ever feel like I am struggling for ideas. I feel actually quite the opposite. I feel like I have ideas happening all of the time. I capture some of those in a journal or in my notes app, and I've been doing this for years and years and years now. Sometimes I'll get woke up in the middle of the night with an idea, or I can't fall asleep, or maybe an idea wakes me up early in the morning. That happens sometimes. So I don't think I'm that different than most people. So I think one of the differences that I'm going to lean into here in this conversation is about how do you recognize them when they happen. And I want to talk about sort of some of the different art movements and things, because I think that'll help make it make more sense. So right now I am 45 years old. I'm going to turn 46 this year. And over the years, I've done a lot of different styles of art. I went to animation school. And so early on, being a child in the 80s and a teenager in the 90s, I was heavily influenced by movies, video games, comic books, toys, Saturday morning cartoons, Bob Ross, all the above. And then I got into like graffiti for a while. I really enjoyed that. And so I tend to work with like a lot of bold colors. I think all of those things are the things that have attracted me to those genres. And I also love where I live. I live in the Pacific Northwest, and we have an endless amount of just really cool stuff to look at all of the time. So being able to travel a little bit and see the world and experience different things, I find that I'm like constantly generating ideas. And I think because I don't judge them, I'm not ruling out any. And it doesn't mean I have great ideas all the time. Like I probably have some very mediocre ideas. I might have some bad ideas, but there's certainly no shortage of them. It's happening all of the time. And I think when I pay attention to something that makes me say, wow, I'll often take my phone out and take a picture of it just like anybody else would. So that's really not the issue, right? I think all of us could probably reflect on our lives a little bit and say, yeah, there's definitely things that are getting my attention, things that are occupying space in my mind and my heart, things I want to express. So I don't think that that's really the big challenge for creativity. Let's talk about styles for a moment, because this is where I see some of the hang-up happen in my art classes. All of the traditional drawing and painting skills that I learned and that seem to be in books, what they tend to do is they tend to teach students a foundational level of knowledge that all leads towards realism to some degree. Because let's say you have a still life of fruit, a bowl of fruit set up. if you were the elementary age student, you wouldn't even think about whether you can draw it or not. You would just start drawing it. It's not till middle school, I think, then we start to really pick it apart and criticize it. And what we're criticizing is it doesn't look the way it looks to me in real life. It doesn't, I can't draw it accurately or paint it accurately. And so you see a lot of kids stop doing any art altogether, except for the kids that see themselves more as artists. They kind of keep going and keep pushing, and they're trying to nail this realism, if that's their goal, right? Sometimes it's not. Sometimes they're very, very content making cartoons or whatever. But that's what I think separates people, is they feel like I can't make it photorealistic, so therefore it's no good. And I think that's what a lot of people think for a long time, until they have thought about it long enough to realize realism is really just one style. And I'm super grateful that it's not the only style. I love the diversity in the art world. Like when you go to the Seattle Art Fair or any good art festival here on the West Coast, and I'm still trying to make it to New York and Miami and LA and all these places, San Francisco probably, so I can see more stuff in person. I got to go to the Phoenix Art Museum, which is a fabulous museum, and see quite a wide range of work there. And for me, it's like being in a candy store. It's really quite a lot of fun. But the thing that you pick up on right away when you see all of these different styles together, or you flip through your art history book, is that there's not one way to do anything in the art world. There's techniques, there are styles, there's movements, but they keep, it keeps evolving. It's this never-ending thing. And if you were to write down the names of some of the most famous artists that you've ever heard of, or some of the most famous artists today, only probably a few of them are really doing realism, or super realism or hyper realism, or making things look like a photograph. There's so many other styles, and some things that may feel quite crude, right? And so, but all of it's really cool, because it lets each artist be a true individual. And I think style is very natural, like an artist's style. I think it's like a thumbprint, where you just sort of have it, and it's what you do. It's a collection of all of the ways that you like to see the world, and your colors and your subject matter, and how you make marks with the brushes, and which types of brushes that you might use. And it starts to emerge naturally the more you do it. So it's not something that you have to force or anything like that. I think it's good to emulate some styles for a while, learn from them, and see if you enjoy the process of doing it that way. But I think a lot of that self-deprecation goes away when we have the freedom to understand that there's not one way that's like the perfect way to paint an apple. There's lots of different ways. Recently, I'd collected maybe 40 different images of landscapes, and all 40 were different, right? Quite different in some regard. So the longer you start painting or doing whatever that you're doing, after you've learned those basic fundamentals of perspective and form and lighting and color and value, composition, all of that stuff, when you learn all of that stuff, then you have like this fundamental level of ability. The really interesting questions after that is, if you could make just about anything, what should you make? Or what do you want to make? And that's where you can dig back into those journals and see if there's anything that seems like it fits together. When when I started painting again in 2017 or 2018, I was just doing paintings one at a time just to see if I would enjoy the process. I didn't really enjoy it much in high school. I did other things art-wise that I enjoyed. I felt intimidated by that, but after many, many years and going through college and the Art Institute, and when I came back to painting, I actually loved it, absolutely fell in love with it, and been painting up a storm the last few years, and I have a really big goal this year, but in order to make a large body of work, the question became, if I can make anything and I can make it in any style, what do I really care about? And so this year, it's a continuation of something I started last year. I have 30 ideas that are all related. It's part of what I'm calling an infinite light series, because the one thing that all of the paintings have in common is that they're all really hyper-focused on the lighting conditions, but they're also all different ways lighting shows up in the Pacific Northwest with different Pacific Northwest subjects. And some of them are going to be more muted, some of them are going to be incredibly vibrant. I'm probably about a third of the way done, and I've started on the next third, but I'm hoping to get them done here within the next few months. The thing is, once you have all those ideas completed together, hanging on a wall together, then the idea, that body of work, makes a lot of sense. And then the funny thing that's been happening to me as I'm working on this one, I have like 5 other different ideas that are branching off of this idea that I want to explore next. And so I'm now categorizing that in my journals of like, okay, this is the next 10 paintings or maybe 20 paintings or 100 paintings or whatever that I want to kind of get going. And so I don't find it terribly difficult or terribly taxing to come up with the ideas, and neither should you. I think once you get one of those ideas finished, it doesn't even have to be good, it just has to be finished. And then show that to the world and get feedback on it, and reflect on, how did I feel about that? Was that something that I would love to do more of and explore more? What did I learn from it? What would I change and do better next time? That feedback process, I think, is super helpful for generating more ideas and really paying attention to our creativity. So that's one way to approach it. The other way to approach it, I'd say, is trying to reverse engineer other people's work after you've done a bit of your own, right? So do your own for a while, but then once you have a decent number of works under your belt, go back through your art history book and pay attention to the different masters that are in that book and how great they were at the thing that they were doing. And try to see, if you were to emulate them, kind of some of the steps that you would go through. How strong is the drawing, or is the drawing fairly simplistic? What type of paint do they use? A lot of times it's on canvas, but what surfaces are they using? How many layers of paint do they do? What's their approach to painting it? If I was to try to paint it exactly like a forgery, for example, how would I go about it to match up brush strokes and right? If you can dissect how some other artist got there, you can learn a lot from that process, and then it gives you a lot of tools in your tool belt. I had an example earlier today when someone was asking me about this process. I said, well, I'm an amateur wannabe chef. Like, I like to cook, and thank you, Gordon Ramsay, for all that you do. I have learned a lot from watching you over the years. But one day, Gordon Ramsay basically showed us all the recipe for how he makes burgers, right? It was very quick. It was, it wasn't like written down. It was just I was listening and I was watching. And so I started making my burgers that way, and they're fantastic. It is a really tasty burger, and I'm an amateur, and so I can only imagine if I was like super into making this, I could take it to another level, right? But the process of dissecting how it was made and trying to make it myself, and then putting it out there for the world to experience, which really is just my family and my kids and stuff, getting their feedback, I was like, oh, that's cool. I wonder what else I can make, right? And so sometimes the process of getting new ideas comes from looking at how someone else put it together, emulating that, learning from it, and then applying some of those techniques to the next thing that you try. So anyways, I hope that helps. Excuse me, burped on YouTube, and I'm not going to edit this. I hope that helps give you guys some ideas and feedback on how you can sort of tap into what I believe is already there for you. Something that is very normal, very natural, but just being aware of it, that it's happening all of the time, capturing those ideas down, and then not judging yourself on your skills, but just putting it on the surface and saying, okay, there it is, right? And what did I learn from it? And what would I do different the next time? And how can I improve this? And maybe I could talk to another artist and have them look at it and give me some feedback on how they would approach it, right? Just the willingness to try is going to allow you to tap into that creativity. Last thing, and then I'm going to end the video, is I've read some comments in artist threads of people that feel like they're exhausted, they've reached their limit, they can't possibly paint anything else right now, they're completely burned out. I don't know how to relate to that. I understand what burnout feels like, but I don't understand what they're talking about. And so I'm not going to say that that's not real. Obviously I just mocked it a little bit. Sorry guys. But I think the reason is, I feel like they're being, like my hunch on this is that they're being way too hard on themselves. And maybe it's not that they lack ideas for creativity. Maybe they're just having a hard moment in life and just don't feel very creative right now. So my advice to that person would be, don't worry about it. Just rest. Do something else for a while. Even if you're a professional and you're trying to make a living from this, there's other things you could do to pay the bills while you get refreshed and reset. So I don't think it's as big of a deal as we think it is. I don't think it's as hard as we think it is. I think that we just have to put paint on the canvas and trust our instincts that like something we make ourselves is going to be unique because we made it, and there's an infinite amount of things we can make. That like no one's going to exhaust all of the ideas. Not really. There might be some stuff that starts to look, like other things, but the truth is that there's so many different places in the world. There's so many different insects. There's so many different animals. There's so many different weather patterns and lighting conditions and combinations of things that lead to character development for movies and video. Like there's an infinite number of ways we can go about this. So I really don't think it's about the person has ran out of ideas. I think they're just tired and they probably just need to rest. So if that's you, please get some rest. If it's just, you're just normal right now, the ideas will flow when you stop judging them all and just kind of let it go. It's actually something that occurred to me when I was listening to Gary Vaynerchuk talk about making these types of videos, that all of us are just afraid to turn the camera on because we're afraid our ideas aren't going to be very good. And instead of just doing this, letting it be raw, letting it be uncut, and putting it out there and letting the world decide what they think of it, we avoid it and avoid it and avoid it and avoid it and avoid it. And sooner or later, you got to turn the camera on, right? So that's sort of the situation that we're in with the artwork too. If it's drawing, draw. If it's pastels, do that. Colored pencils, markers, digital art. I don't work with oils, but I work with acrylics, and I really enjoy them. There's so many different things you can do. There's paper mache and sculpture and jewelry and woodworking. Maybe your thing's food or music. I really don't know, but you kind of do, and you probably have kind of known that for a long time. So whatever that preferred medium is for you, stop judging yourself on all of that stuff and just make something, and come up with a list of 10 ideas and make all 10, and don't give up until you do. And I think that you'll be pleased with the result. So thank you for listening to this, and more to come.